What's up, decoders? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing good today. Today is August 1st, 2025, and impromptu live stream today, but we're going to dive into all sorts of crazy stuff going on, and going to go over all the events that happened over the last few days and leading into tomorrow, which is Tisha B'Av, and it's a very important time on the calendar. Of course, Tisha B'Av is to commemorate the destruction of the temples. And this obviously ties to 9/11. And we'll see what happens. But August 11th looks like a very interesting time. August 8th through August 11th. We're going to talk about those dates. But to everyone who's in the chat, thank you for coming in to the live stream today. Hello to Susan and Ray and Serious Business and Jamie and Coffee Girl. Hello. Can you guys all hear me? Hopefully. It seems like my sound's working, but let me know if you guys can't hear me. Please hit those like buttons if you're just getting in, guys. That's always helps the algorithm. We're gonna take a look at Tisha B'Av tomorrow. I'm gonna go over, why Tisha B'Av is. Well, of course, we know why Tisha B'Av is important, but I'm going to go over this year. It seems to be falling on a specific day for a specific reason. So we're going to go over that. We're going to give like another minute, let some more people get in here, and then we'll get started. But how you all doing today? Let me know how you guys are doing. Been a few days since I did a live stream, so thought I'd jump on here and hang out with you all for a bit. This live stream is not very well put together like some of my live streams, but we're definitely going to try to talk about a lot of information. If anyone in the chat has any good details to share as I go, please make sure you don't hesitate to share. You guys are the backbone of this channel. You guys help me find more stuff than I'll ever find myself. So thank you guys so much. But yeah, Jose Hernandez says he's doing great. Glad to hear. Hope you guys are all doing well in there. Let's see. So yeah, Tisha B'Av is going to be on August 2nd and August 3rd. So tomorrow, the evening of tomorrow, and then the next day. And of course, as I mentioned, this is to commemorate the destruction of the two temples. So it's about destruction, guys. I mean, just look at the picture on Wikipedia. Of course, it's about destruction of the temples. It's about it's the 9th of Av, right, which connects to 9/11, right? And so you have all this that's happening recently seems to be leading to Tisha B'Av. I'm not saying anything huge is going to happen necessarily, but just look for rituals on Tisha B'Av the next 2 days. Everything in the news will probably be connected to Tisha B'Av. And yeah, so what's interesting about this is if you go on the Tisha B'Av site, you will see, let me see here, October. So look at this. Let's see, hold on. Observances of the day include 5 prohibitions, most notable of which is a 25-hour fast. The Book of Lamentations, which mourns the destruction of Jerusalem, is read in the synagogue, followed by the recitation of Kanot and liturgical dirges that lament the loss of the temples and Jerusalem, as the day has become associated with remembrance of other calamities which have befallen the Jewish people. Some cannot also recall events such as the murder of the 10 martyrs, the expulsions from England, Spain, and elsewhere, the massacres of numerous medieval Jewish communities by crusaders, and the October 7th, 2023 Hamas attack. So even if you read Tisha B'Av, you guys are going to see that it mentions the October 7th Hamas attack, okay? And well, you guys know that October 7th is also the birthday of Vladimir Putin, right? Let me just bring this up in English. But as you can see, the Hamas attack on Israel, which it mentions on the Tisha B'Av page, was on the birthday of Vladimir Putin. So we're going to talk about Tisha B'Av. We're going to talk about Putin and the earthquake that just happened in Russia that caused tsunami waves, all in the Ring of Fire. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Ring of Fire, the earthquake. And of course, this is connected to Putin because Putin is the president of Russia. So, but just don't forget this as we go through the decode, that Tisha B'Av is actually, if you read the Tisha B'Av page, it actually connects it to Putin's birthday, which is the Hamas attack. So we got that connection. I'm going to talk about with Putin, and we're going to talk, of course, about 9/11 because it's connected to the 9th of Av. And we're going to talk about the money, okay, and wrestling. Because wrestling is, this channel, I talk about wrestling all the time, but wrestling is at the forefront of everything right now. Everything you're seeing on the main stage is connected to wrestling. And why is that? Because wrestling is a huge ritual on the world stage. And we're going to talk about the SummerSlam coming up tomorrow, the first ever SummerSlam event, which has been held since the year 1988. This is the first ever SummerSlam to happen on two different days. And guess what 2 days it falls on, guys? It just so happens that the first ever SummerSlam on 2 different days is going to fall on the exact dates of Tisha B'Av this year, right? The exact days of Tisha B'Av are August 2nd and August 3rd. That just happens to be the 2 days of SummerSlam. Okay? You guys get it? The 2 towers, the 2 temples. You guys see all the two symbolism, right? Because why do you think this is the first ever 2-night SummerSlam? They have this every year since 1988, and they just now decide this year to have it as a 2-night event on Tisha B'Av, the 2 nights, right? So this is huge. This is, I don't think you guys in the chat understand. I don't think you guys understand just how big this is, that this 2-night event is the first ever to fall on Tisha B'Av. And right before this SummerSlam that's coming tomorrow, well, so here's the first SummerSlam, right? 1988. 88. 8's are wild. I want you guys to keep your eyes on 8's in the coming days. Because we're starting the 8th month, supposedly, which really isn't the 8th month. It's actually the 6th month, but October is actually the 8th month. So something might actually happen in October instead of August. We'll see. But look at the first ever SummerSlam. Let me see if I can make this bigger. So here's the first ever SummerSlam. Again, tomorrow is the SummerSlam on Tisha B'Av. And look at the 2 teams that are on the headline of SummerSlam 88. It's Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. Well, these are the 2 guys that predicted 9/11, guys. Remember, you guys have seen this by now for sure. Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage are the 2 people who predicted the towers tumbling down before it happened. And you notice how Miss Elizabeth is in between here? That's the divine feminine, as me and Rambo have been talking about. We're going to get into the feminine, the Elizabeth part. This all ties to Queen Elizabeth. It ties to the feminine. But these 2 are the mega powers. But look at the first ever SummerSlam, guys. 88, and it was the mega powers versus the mega bucks. So this is a money reference, guys. It's all connected to money, which is why I'm continuing to watch for money symbolism and money events, banks or crypto or whatever it's going to be. It seems there's all money here, okay? Mega bucks, okay? Now, we're going to go back and look at this SummerSlam in a little bit, but first we're going to talk about Hulk Hogan, who just died. Now, remember, Hulk Hogan his initials are HH, like 88, because H is the 8th letter. So you have the 88. The first SummerSlam was in 88. It features Hulk Hogan, HH. All right. So we're going to continue to talk about the 88s as we go through. But I just want to give an overview of all this stuff before we really jump into it, because these themes that I've laid out here are very important. Now, let me go to my slides. Now, I want to cover some events that already happened that I already covered, but this leads into it, okay? Remember, I made a video a few days ago talking about the death of Hulk Hogan. Again, I just showed you Hulk Hogan is on the front of SummerSlam 88. And I told you that the same day that Hulk Hogan died at 71, Jerome Powell of the Federal Reserve was meeting Trump. Again, money, guys. The Federal Reserve is all about the money, okay? He was meeting with Trump on a renovation project the same day that Hulk Hogan died at 71. Well, Federal Reserve equals 71, okay? You guys already know this. I've already showed this, but I'm just laying the groundwork of what I've already talked about, okay? And remember, I told you that the number 188, again, when we look at the number 188, we have to say the number 88, right? Like 8's. So, and when you look at a number like this, you can look at this as a 1 with an 88 behind it. So it's a magnifying the 88. This is like a magnified 88, okay? The 188. Now, this is a huge number with the money, because all of the current circulating bills, 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50, and 100, they add up to 188, okay? And remember, Hulk Hogan, HH, or Hollywood Hulk Hogan, HHH, he was part of the New World Order and New Order of the Ages, which is on the money. Novus Ordo Seclorum means New Order of the Ages. That sums to 188. Again, you guys already know this. I've already shared this, but I'm just laying the groundwork again. And I showed you in my last video how Jerome Powell, his birthday is 188 days before Hulk Hogan's birthday. Remember, Jerome Powell was meeting with Trump on the same day that Hulk Hogan died. And Jerome Powell was born the same year as Hulk Hogan. He was born 188 days before him, okay? And the 242 is the 188th composite number. Hulk died 24 weeks and 2 days after the birthday of Jerome Powell. So it all connects back to the 188, okay? But now we need to go back. Okay, I already talked about these in my last video. All this connections with Jerome Powell and Hulk Hogan, right? But now we need to go back, okay? There's a show. Yeah, thank you. Ball Don't Lie, my brother's in here. Glad to see you in there here, brother. Hope you're doing well. He's saying Virgin Mary equals 188. Yeah, that's the divine feminine connection. We're going to get to that. I guess we'll talk about more of that towards the end. But yeah, Virgin Mary equals 188. That's a good one. But look at this. Bavarian Illuminati. Okay, first of all, everyone associates the money on the back of the bill with the Illuminati. Okay, Bavarian Illuminati, 188. Okay. Now, we got to go back to the year 1988. And if you take out the 9 here, the 3 digits you're left with, the 9 is the repeater digit, okay? So every year in the 1900s had the 9 in it. But if you take out the 9, you get 188. You guys see that? And this was the first ever WWF The Main Event, okay? So let's go back to this. Fading the Public says monetary crisis equals 188. That's a good one. Let me look that up. Wow. Monetary crisis, 188. That's good. That is a good one. And just to show what Ball Don't Lie just said, Virgin Mary also has a 188. Oh, Virgin Mary has a 134 as well. I'm going to talk about that. Virgin Mary equals 188 in the capital cipher. So that's a good one. But the monetary crisis, having that 188 is super interesting. That's a good one. That's a great addition. Yeah, in the last video, we talked about how the other death last month was Malcolm Jamal Warner, who's born on 18/8. So, of course, I'm really watching the date 18/8 because that seems to be a day that something could go down with the money as well. But anyways, we got to go back to the year 1988. That was the year the Phoenix magazine came out. Exactly. So that was the year that the Phoenix magazine came out. Let me bring that up. Hold on. That's another good addition. Thank you guys for your 1988 Phoenix magazine. So yeah, this I don't know how well you guys can see that, but this did come out in 1988. You can't see it very well, but so it all connects to the year 1988, guys. And again, we got to go back to the wrestling connection because the first ever WWF main event was in 1988. And the first event happened in Market Square Arena. You guys get it? A market. The name of the stadium was Market Square Arena. So you have even a market connection here, like the markets, you know. So let me just show you how crazy this is. So I want you guys to notice that the first ever WWE main event was in Market Square Arena, Market, and it was in Indianapolis, Indiana, which equals, Indianapolis is the only city that equals 201, one of the only biggest cities. But look at the date, guys, February 5th, 1988. Well, that's the same day in history that Jerome Powell took office as the Federal Reserve head. I mean, that's pretty mind-blowing, guys. Considering everything I'm talking about here, you're telling me that Jerome Powell took office on the anniversary of the first WWE, the main event, which was in Market Square Arena? Now, look at this. If you type in the main event, it equals 188. And it's also titled WWF, the main event. That also equals 188 in ordinal. So it doesn't matter how you type this. If you type it WWF, the main event, it equals 188. If you type it the main event, it equals 188. If you type in the name of the arena, Market Square Arena, it equals 188. So this no doubt connects, because this is the number I just talked about in my last video, connecting to Jerome Powell and Hulk Hogan. And then I look into this and I'm like, wow, look at all these 188s. Everything I type in equals 188. And just, you got to compound that with the fact that Jerome Powell took office on the same day as this first show. And who was the headliner at this first main event? It was Hulk Hogan. It was Hulk Hogan. And let's read what happened in this show. Let's read about it, guys. The match between Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan saw Andre receive a pinfall victory despite Hogan raising his left shoulder before the count of 2. So basically, guys, what that means is Hulk Hogan was unjustly, he got the loss, but he was cheated out of the loss. It was revealed post-match that the referee who worked the match was not assigned referee. It was Dave Hebner, but rather it was his twin brother, Earl Hebner. Guys, the Twin Tower symbolism is right here. So let me just keep reading and then I'll explain this. Earl had been hired by Ted DiBiase to cheat Hogan out of the belt. Immediately after the match, Andre surrendered the title to DiBiase. So I hope you guys get what I'm getting at here. This match is all about money because Hulk Hogan got cheated out of his title because his opponent, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, he paid the referee to cheat Hulk Hogan. So this match even has a clear reference to money. And look how old Ted DiBiase is right now. He's 71. How old did Hulk Hogan die at just a few days ago? 71. What does Federal Reserve equal? It equals 71. So after that, Ted DiBiase, let me just type in Ted DiBiase. And remember, Ted is Theodore. His name is Theodore, who died just a few days before Hulk Hogan. It was the guy who played Theodore Huxtable. So it even connects to the death of Malcolm Jamal Warner. So Ted DiBiase walks around with a money belt. And this is the guy who cheated out Hulk Hogan in 1988 in the first main event. He paid off the referee. So if you can't tell me that this is not about money, I don't know what it's about, okay? I mean, here he is again, wearing a money belt. He's known as the $1 Million Man, okay? So this is the same show, and the Twin Tower symbolism is here too, because you have twin brothers who were the referees, but one of the twins was paid off, and the other one, the one who was supposed to be refereeing the match, he wasn't refereeing, and the other one was paid off, Earl Hebner. Now, one of these brothers is dead. The one who was supposed to referee the match in 1988, he's already dead. He died on June 17th, 2022, so just recently. But his brother, who cheated out Hulk Hogan, is Earl. And Earl Hebner, he's still alive. So he's known. Look at this right here, guys. Hebner, along with his identical twin brother, played a prominent role in the main event in 1988, in which Andre the Giant controversially beat Hulk Hogan for the WWF title, as well as the infamous Montreal Screwjob. So again, this is just so clear. And look at who the actual main event was in that it was the Jimmy Hart with Bret Hart. Again, we talked about, me and AJ have been talking about the heart and the love. The heart of the financial system is, the Federal Reserve, essentially. But yeah, anyway, let's just keep going. I'm getting a little bit off topic there, but you guys get the point. The 188s are all about the money, and this match in 1988 was all about money, okay? Now, we're not going to just talk about the 188. We're going to talk about the 888 and the 88, because this connects us all the way back again. Remember, the Economist magazine with the Phoenix on it, it came out in 88. The first main event was in 88. The first SummerSlam was in 88. But Hulk Hogan, he was also known as Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and that is HHH, which is 888, okay? And remember, in my last video, I pointed out that Jesus in Greek equals 888, okay? Now, I would like to point out, going back to the 188s real fast, Jesus of Nazareth I didn't spell that right, did I? I think I spelled it right. I know that Jesus of Nazareth equals 188. Okay. Also, rise from the ashes. And remember, I told you the Phoenix magazine came out in 1988. And this picture is a phoenix. And the most famous phrase that goes along with the phoenix is the phrase rise from the ashes, which also equals 188. So those are just more 188s to go. Now, before the earthquake even happened in Russia that caused tsunami, remember tsunamis are connected to water, which is connected to money. Okay. In my first video about Malcolm Jamal Warner, I talked about how he drowned in the current, like currency. Well, just a few days after Hulk Hogan and Malcolm Jamal Warner died, we had a huge earthquake that caused lots of little tsunamis. Okay. And remember, I pointed out that Hulk Hogan had actually fought a guy named Earthquake many times. And I told you guys to be watching for an earthquake and watching the money. Well, we got an earthquake the same day that Jerome Powell announced the interest rate decision. So I want you guys to think about that for a minute. Here I am talking about an earthquake and talking about money. And we get an 8.8 earthquake in Russia the same day that Jerome Powell, the other guy I've been talking about, he did his FOMC meeting on the same day as the earthquake. So again, remember, he met with Trump the day Hulk Hogan died. And then the day of the 8.8 earthquake, he was announcing his interest rate decision for the Federal Reserve. And I told you guys, again, this was like kind of a good prediction by me. I told you guys, watch for something like an earthquake. And this is the earthquake that happened. Let me just bring it up. The earthquake that happened on July 30th was an 8.8, like Hulk Hogan. Yeah, that's a good one. Dr. Savage is mentioning, let me just bring that comment up. Make sure you guys go sub to Dr. Savage too. Earth is the anagram of heart. Earthquake is like a heart attack. Yeah. Hulk Hogan died of a heart attack. How perfect. When the earth quakes, it could be considered like a heart attack. That's a good one. Guys, make sure you guys go subscribe to my buddy Ball Don't Lie as well. We've talked about the heart symbolism many times. But anyway, an 8.8 earthquake in Russia. Remember, the president of Russia is Vladimir. Vladimir equals 88, right? So that's interesting. Vladimir Putin, Vladimir equals 88. Well, this was the sixth. It was the most powerful earthquake recorded worldwide since the 2011 Japanese earthquake. You guys know about that one. It was the sixth most. I think they said it was the sixth strongest earthquake ever. Okay, so we're talking about nothing small here. We're talking about an actual earthquake that was huge, right? I mean, luckily it was in the middle of nowhere, essentially. But anyway, this all connects to tsunamis. Now, going back to the wrestling connection, one day before, let me just show you this. One day before the earthquake and tsunami in Russia, you had a guy named Bronson Reed. You had a guy named Bronson Reed. Let me see if I can find the actual. Right here. So a day before the tsunami and the earthquake, you had two guys destroy the Roman Empire, Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, And they did it with a tsunami. Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed decimate Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. This move right here, he calls a tsunami, guys. And I've talked about this guy before because on the front of his gear, he wears a skull and bones. So again, not only did I talk about an earthquake a few days before, you also had wrestling showing the tsunami symbolism one day before, okay? And these two guys are going to be fighting tomorrow in the main event of SummerSlam. Now remember, the first SummerSlam was in '88, and it featured Hulk Hogan versus the Mega Bucks. And now tomorrow you're going to have a match between Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, and these two men who did the tsunami, okay? And I've mentioned this before, but considering my first video that I did was about Ripple, the cryptocurrency, Satoshi Nakamoto the creator of cryptocurrency, essentially, he did a book called Wave and Ripple. You see the tsunami wave? So in the last couple of weeks, I've talked about all these subjects, and they're all coming together because you get Satoshi Nakamoto, Wave and Ripple. I talked about Ripple. I talked about how Malcolm Jamal Warner was born on the same day that the Ripple song debuted by the Grateful Dead. And then you get a earthquake and a tsunami just days later. And I talked about Ripple just days before, okay? I talked about Hulk Hogan just days before. So now, let's get back on track here. So I got the earthquake right. I figured there would be some sort of connection with the earthquake, connecting to Matthew 27:51, right? If you guys didn't watch my last video, you guys are going to have to go back and watch. So now we're going to connect this to Putin. Remember, in the beginning of the video, I talked about how in the Tisha B'Av article, they talked about how Putin was connected to the attack. Well, his birthday is October 7th, which is the attack on Hamas on Israel. But look at this, guys. So the earthquake the other day was in Russia. So you have to connect it to the president of Russia, right? Well, Wikipedia titles this earthquake 2025 Kamchatka Peninsula Earthquake. And I told you guys, whenever you see Wikipedia titling a video something, you need to decode it. I'm telling you, they code the titles of their Wikipedia articles. So when you take the title and you type it in the gematria calculator, you get 2025 Kamchatka Peninsula Earthquake equals 296. Well, guys, guess how many days this earthquake was after the Russian president's birthday? 296. Is that a coincidence? You guys think that's a coincidence? I don't know. I don't think so. Considering that's the president of Russia, and we're talking about a Russia earthquake that they titled, which equals 296. This is in the basic cipher too. This is in the basic gematria cipher. It equals 296. Now we need to go, and again, I already showed you guys this, but if you go back, remember, I already talked to you about the first main event, okay? The 1988 main event, but there was another one, the second WWF, the main event, okay? Let me just show you. So here's the first one, which I already talked about. It happened in 1988. I already talked about how that's connected to the money. But the next one was the main event 2. You guys see the Twin Towers? You see how this is called 2? And it looks like the Twin Towers? And guess what happened on this one? On February 3rd, 1989. What happened on this one with the Twin Towers right in the title? This was the episode, main event 2, where the mega powers, Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage predicted that the Twin Towers would come crumbling down. Oh, wow. Hold on. Somebody's saying Federal Reserve System equals 296. Hold on. Oh, amazing find. Federal Reserve System, guys, equals 296. This earthquake occurred 296 days after Putin's birthday, on the same day that the Federal Reserve chair announced his interest rate decision. Again, this was the same day, guys, July 30th. It was the same day that Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve System, announced this. You're telling me that the Federal Reserve System equals 296, like the earthquake? So again, just another clear connection to the money and the Federal Reserve. So now, okay, so we got to keep going, but we're going to go back again when Hulk Hogan predicted that and Macho Man predicted that the Twin Towers would come crumbling down in a terrorist attack. So here's something that I haven't seen anyone present yet, but this is more proof that this was totally predictive programming for a 9/11, okay? So not only did they say that the Twin Towers would come crumbling down, I decided to look into the two members who said this. Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. These are the two guys, okay? If you go from their birthdays, they were born 269 days apart, guys. And if you go to the Wikipedia page for September 11th, the title of this is September 11th Attacks. Guys, what are the chances that the two guys that predicted the September 11th attacks were born 269 days apart, and September 11th attacks equals 269? Is there any mind blowns in the chat from that? Because that's pretty crazy. Remember, go back and watch the video, guys. These two men talked about the September 11th attacks many years before it happened. And these two guys are born exactly 269 days apart, which is the gematria of September 11th attacks. And let's not overlook that this number, 269, is an inversion of this number I just presented to you, 296. Okay? I just talked about this number, 296. And these guys were born 269 days apart. So this is just more proof that these guys, not only did they predict it, but the numbers also show that it's true, okay? And now I decided to look at how old they were on the September 11th attacks. And then I was mind blown because look at this. Macho Man Randy Savage was 48 years and 301 days old on September 11th, and Hulk Hogan was 48 years and 31 days old on September 11th. Guys, this is the same digits. They were both 483. If you drop the zero, it's 4831. Now look how old Putin was, or look how many days Putin was in office when the earthquake happened the other day. He was in office 4831 days, the same number. So what is the 4831, guys? Well, it's a prime number. Let me just bring it up. 4831 is the 650th prime number. All right. So again, I just showed you these two guys were the same digits, 4831. 4831 is the 650th prime, okay? Now let's go to the Jewish or Latin cipher, and let's type in the name Elizabeth. And I'll tell you why I'm typing that in a minute. Do you guys see that Elizabeth equals 650? and Elizabeth equals 88. Now, I just showed you that these two men were 4831. Both were that on the September 11th attacks. Remember, that's the 650th prime. And Elizabeth equals 650. Now, how do these two men connect to Elizabeth? Oh, I don't have a picture of it here. Hold on. Let me just bring this up. Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, and Elizabeth. So here is the reason I believe that these two men were both 4831 on 9/11. Because when you break the number 4831 down, you get 650. And that just happens to be the gematria of Elizabeth. And these two men are famous for having Elizabeth in between them. They actually got in a fight because of Elizabeth. Do you guys see how crazy that is? This code connects everything back to Elizabeth. And remember, I started out this decode by talking about Tisha B'Av and Elizabeth and the divine feminine. Well, divine feminine equals 9/11. Let me show you. Divine feminine equals 9/11. Okay. Tisha B'Av equals 9/11. Same cipher. Okay. Now, don't forget, Queen Elizabeth was the queen during all of this. Okay. Now, how many days do you think Hulk Hogan was born after Queen Elizabeth? And here's the other connection to Elizabeth. Do you see how Hulk Hogan... All right, so let me try to make this clear to understand. Do you see how Macho Man Randy Savage was born in 1952 and Hulk Hogan was born in 1953? Well, Queen Elizabeth became queen when her dad died in 1952. And then she was coronated in 1953. Now, when was Putin born? Putin was born in 1952, like Macho Man Randy Savage. So not only are these two connected with Elizabeth, they also have the birth years that correlate with Queen Elizabeth's becoming queen and her coronation, both years. So remember, Hulk Hogan died at 71. If you go from Queen Elizabeth's coronation on June 2nd, 1953, to the birth of Hulk Hogan, it was 71 days. Again, let me repeat that. From Queen Elizabeth's coronation as Queen Elizabeth to the birth of Hulk Hogan, 71 days. Now, what age did Hulk Hogan die at? He died at 71. Now, if you go from the death of Queen Elizabeth to the death of Hulk Hogan, it's exactly 150 weeks from Queen Elizabeth's death to Hulk Hogan's death. 150. Why is that important? Because Queen Elizabeth equals 150. So Hulk Hogan died exactly 150 weeks after Queen Elizabeth, when Queen Elizabeth equals 150. Now, shout out to Rambo from the Truth Codes. He's mentioned how Asherah is connected to the divine feminine, and Asherah had 70 sons, which is one shy of 70. Okay. If you don't add the day, Hulk Hogan was born 70 days after Queen Elizabeth's coronation, and Queen Elizabeth reigned for 70 years. This is also a Sirius number. This connects back to the dog star Sirius. Yeah, and Elizabeth was John the Baptist's mother. Thank you for Susie for making that connection. But this is wild, guys. 150 weeks after Queen Elizabeth dies. And remember, Hulk Hogan is known for sharing the ring with Miss Elizabeth. And shout out to AJ from Ball Don't Lie. In our last live stream, he brought up the celebrity death match where Ozzy Osbourne was carrying Elizabeth on his shoulder. Well, look how Macho Man and Hulk Hogan would carry Elizabeth on their shoulder. And again, if you look up the celebrity deathmatch episode between Ozzy Osbourne and Elton John, you'll see that Ozzy Osbourne wins, and he's holding up Queen Elizabeth on his shoulder. Okay? So this is just so layered, guys, in so many different ways. But let me keep going with this. So let's bring all this together. So yesterday, one day after the earthquake, the 8.8 earthquake, they're telling you how important wrestling is, guys. That's why we need to be following wrestling. That's why I've been following wrestling for 3-4 years on this channel. Look who shows up at the White House yesterday. Can you believe it? After all these 88's connections and these 888's with Hulk Hogan, the guy who shows up to or to the White House yesterday and shakes Trump's hand is a guy named Triple H. And who is Triple H? Let me just type him in so you guys can see. Who's Triple H? Triple H is the chief content officer of wrestling. And you're telling me just a few days after Hulk Hogan died, he shows up and shakes hands with Trump, and he does a water spray, which is his famous move. He's famous for spraying water. Well, guys, this is more birth symbolism. This is more divine feminine. This is more money symbolism. Money like water, like currency. Triple H water spray. Whoops. So Triple H is famous for spraying water out of his nose or mouth. That's what he does when he enters the ring. And the song that's playing, you guys got to go watch the video. The song that's playing when Triple H goes and he sprays his water at the White House is called The Game. Let me look up the lyrics to The Game by Triple H's theme song. Here's the theme song that was playing at the White House when he did that. It goes, it's time to play the game, time to play the game. It's all about the game and how you play it, all about control, and if you can't take it, all about the debt, and if you can pay it. So just a few lines into his song, it does mention money, so we're going back to the money thing. But this is more than about money. This is about spiritual debt, warfare. Again, Jesus paid for the debts of humanity, right? But that's not money, that's spiritual debt. Okay? So we're not just talking about physical money, we're talking about a deeper thing here. But yeah, look, we got 188 of you in the chat. That's the number I've been talking about. But yeah, I mean, Triple H showing up at the White House doing his famous water spray is just unbelievable mockery. And what does Triple H equal, guys? Triple H equals 88. So not only does his name Triple H connect us to the 888, like H is the 8th letter, but if you type in his name, Triple H, it equals 88, like Trump. Like Elizabeth. Okay. So all those have that. All those have that 88. Let me just, the word bloodline also equals 88. Triple H also equals 38. You see that? Well, that's like 3 8s, right? 3 8s. And the SummerSlam that's happening tomorrow on Tisha B'Av is the 38th SummerSlam. Remember, the first one was in 1988. And now 38 years later, you have the first 2-night event on Tisha B'Av. It's in New Jersey as well. New Jersey could connect. That's not far from New York. But yeah, anyway, the big point is here, Triple H shows up at the White House right after the 8.8 earthquake, and Triple H equals 88, like Trump equals 88. But here, we're going to make my final points here. So remember, I told you, the first SummerSlam in 88 featured Hulk Hogan, Miss Elizabeth, and Randy Savage. They were called the Mega Powers. And look at the title of the event. It says, where the Mega Powers meet the Mega Bucks. Are you kidding me? Another reference to money. But look how many days tomorrow's SummerSlam on Tisha B'Av is going to be after the first SummerSlam. It's going to be 13488. And this is super interesting because when you type in the words Tisha B'Av, it equals 134. When you type in the word SummerSlam, it equals 134. And Tisha B'Av is to commemorate the 9th of Av, and 9th of Av equals 134. And again, from the first SummerSlam to tomorrow SummerSlam, or the 8-3 is 13488. So you have the 134, and then you have the 88. So I've been talking about the 88, and then the 134 is the gematria of all these things. And don't forget, Tisha B'Av equals 9/11. And yeah, I can't forget to mention that I've talked about XRP, but Ripple XRP equals 134, like Tisha B'Av, and XRP Ledger, which is what it runs on, equals 134. So both of those have the same 134. You see XRP Ledger, Ripple XRP, 134, okay? Tisha B'Av, 134, 9th of Av, 134, SummerSlam, 134. Somebody says the system. The system equals 134. Wow. That's a good one. There's actually a wrestling group called The System. But yeah, all those 134s. And we're going to talk very quickly at the end here about Sydney Sweeney and her great genes. Because that's also equals 134. Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Don't forget, Make America Great Again. Make America Great Again equals 134. So yeah, Make America Great Again. the System, XRP Ledger, Ripple XRP, Tisha B'Av, the 9th of Av, SummerSlam, Sydney Sweeney has great genes, 134. So what does that mean? I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But let's keep going. But I just wanted to point out that on this 1988 SummerSlam, the first SummerSlam, the title says where the mega powers meet the mega bucks. And that just happens to sum to 156. And guys, 9/11 is the 156th prime number. And let's not forget that on 9/11, the World Trade Centers went down. We're talking about trading, like markets, and it's all about money, right? Yeah, I'm going to talk about how Sydney Sweeney equals 188, and she's in the news right now. But look at this, guys. This group that Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage fought in 1988 called the Megabucks. Look what they equal. Megabucks equals Tisha B'Av in 3 out of the 4 ciphers. So that's interesting. So here we have another connection between, the money and the Tisha B'Av tomorrow. And here's what kind of brings it all together. And big shout out to Derek from Gematrinator 85. Here's our chat from last night. Here I am talking about Hulk Hogan, and Derek, he reminded me that last night the Atlanta Braves and the Cincinnati Reds. Remember, Hulk Hogan was from Georgia, guys, and this game was featuring Atlanta, which is in Georgia, of course. And big shout out to Derek. He pointed out that something improbable happened. Look how Derek was writing me this message. He said, Hulk Hogan equals HH 88, born on August 11th, which is 8 times 11 is 88 in Georgia. Tonight, the Braves and the Reds were tied in the 8th inning, where both teams scored 8 runs, and they made the score 11-11. I want you guys to think about that for a second. Hulk Hogan, HH, is 88. Hulk Hogan's born in Georgia on 8/11. Yesterday, in the 8th inning, the Georgia team scored 8 runs, and the other team scored 8 runs, and that ties the game at 11, like 8/11, like his birthday. And look at the guy in the crowd. Again, big shout out to Derek. Look at the guy in the crowd. He was dressed as Hulk Hogan. And here's your 8th inning, guys. Look what happened in the 8th inning. In the 8th inning, both teams scored 8 runs. And then Atlanta ended up winning 12-11. But yeah, look at this score here, 8-8-8, right in the 8th inning. I mean, how obvious does it get, guys? Yeah, they're not subtle at all, are they, Susan? That's not subtle at all. They put Hulk Hogan in there even. Guy dressed like Hulk Hogan. So this is happening the same day that Triple H is at the White House. And Triple H is like 888. Okay, here's Triple H. And the same night, you have 8 runs by both teams in the 8th inning, like 888. Don't forget, Time Traveler equals 888. Donald J. Trump equals 888. The Art of the Deal. We're almost done, guys. Now, remember, I told you tomorrow is Tisha B'Av, and tomorrow is going to feature these 2 teams fighting each other. And guess when this guy was born? You see this guy over here to the right? Paul Heyman, who used to be on the Roman Reigns side. He's now gone against Roman Reigns, and this guy's born on September 11th. And now he has his twin towers, his big men, going up against the Roman Empire, and one of these guys is named Jey Uso, which equals 188 in capitals. I've been talking about the 188. And of course, I have 188 in the chat. Guys, this happens to me every stream. I get 188 in the chat. Anyways, Jey Uso equals 188. And he wears a main event on his shirt. Look. And what did I start this whole decode talking about? I was talking about the 1988 main event show featuring Hulk Hogan, which had the 188s. And now tomorrow, you're going to have a wrestler who's a twin. Guys, this guy's a twin. And he's wearing a main event shirt. And his name equals 188. It all connects. And it's going to happen tomorrow on the first double night event of SummerSlam. So this ties us all the way back to the twins. It ties us back to the main event from 1988. And don't forget how big Roman Reigns is. I've talked about Roman Reigns, who has 2 sets of twins, by the way. He has 2 sets of twins as children. And he has 2 cousins who are twins. Yeah, SummerSlam is like SS. That's a good one. Because we're going to talk about Sydney Sweeney for a minute. So there was controversy this week around an American Eagle ad featuring Sydney Sweeney has great genes. SS, Sydney Sweeney. Guys, I'll give you one guess what Sydney Sweeney equals in gematria. Sydney Sweeney equals 188. This is the number I've been talking about, how it's connected to everything right now. And it just so happens that the girl who's going viral right now, her name equals 188. I mean, what's the chance of that? And I still have 188 in the chat. Now, let me show you this. So there was this controversy because they thought that they were talking about eugenics. And you know where eugenics comes from, right? It comes from the SS. It's all about selecting blood, like perfecting the reproduction. And the reason that she was saying that she has great genes, and she crosses out the word genes and she replaces it with genes, is because she has the blue eyes and the blonde hair, right? Blue eyes, blonde hair. Now, remember, look at the gematria of Sydney Sweeney has great genes in Chaldean. It equals 88. This was the title of the video. Sydney Sweeney has great genes. If you type in Sydney Sweeney, American Eagle, it equals 88. In that same cipher, 88 miles per hour equals 88. Also, psychological operation, which is what this is, equals 88. Now, who drove 88 miles per hour in the same type of attire as Sydney Sweeney's wearing? Look at what Michael J. Fox is wearing. He's wearing denim on denim, which is exactly what this ad was promoting. And what if I told you that the earthquake, the 8.8 earthquake, and the Sydney Sweeney stuff was happening 88 days before time travel date, the anniversary of Marty McFly traveling 88 miles per hour in his denim, in his jeans and his denim jacket. So I don't think it's a coincidence that the 8.8 earthquake happened 88 days before Back to the Future traveled 88 miles per hour. And it just struck me that Marty McFly is often wearing denim on denim, which is just what Sydney Sweeney was pointing out. So again, guys, this all goes back to everything that happens in the news is always tied together. Guys, look at this. Sydney Bernice Sweeney, her full name equals 296. Did I not just talk about this number? Remember, I just talked about this number too. Her full name. So her name, Sydney Sweeney, equals 188, but her full name equals 296, like Federal Reserve System. All right, so there you go. Just more proof that it's all tied to the same stuff. Like Federal Reserve System equals Sydney Bernice Sweeney. Nostro and Vostro account equals 296. That's a good one. XRP is the golden ticket equals 296. Wow. Let me see. That's funny if that's really true. Oh, wow. Look. Holy moly. Guys, this is crazy. Look at this. XRP is the golden ticket equals Federal Reserve System equals Sydney. I mean, that's interesting, considering this all started weeks ago when I was talking about XRP. What? Huh. You guys are finding some good stuff here. So thank you for the additions. Now, one last thing I want to say about Sydney Sweeney is she has blonde hair and blue eyes, right? That's the trait that she has. Look at this, guys. Blonde hair and blue eyes. It equals 201. Of course, the trait that you know who was fond of. You just type in blonde hair and blue eyes, it equals 201. So I thought that was interesting. So, I mean, that's just more interesting connections with the 201s so you guys can add to your list. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here in about 5 minutes. So if you guys have anything else to share, please do so. Guys, make sure you guys go check out Decoding Our Reality. He did a great video on 8.8 coming up. Yeah, so Barack Obama will turn 64 years old, which is 8 times 8. Wait, so Decoding Our Reality says his birthday on the 4th will be 88th prime day after July 4th? Really? Hold on. Whoa. Do you guys understand what Decoding Our Reality just showed here? If you go from the founding of the United States to Obama's birthday, on 8/4, it's 90,977 days. And look, that's the 8800 prime from the United States founding to Obama's birthday. And he'll turn 64. And 64 is 8 times 8. So, I mean, I don't know what to say about that, but that's crazy. That is a great find. Again, make sure you guys go subscribe to Decoding Our Reality for that great edition. It's we got 4 minutes left, guys, and I'm going to start wrapping it up. So if you guys have anything else. I'm also watching King Charles on August 11th. I might do a separate video for King Charles, but I'm seeing something for the royal family possibly on August 11th. Somebody's saying 8/4/2025 equals 589. How's that? Yeah, so watch Obama's birthday too, August 4th. I mean, I would just be watching the first, this whole month of August, we could see some interesting stuff. So, I mean, if I was to list dates, I would say August 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, August 8th, August 11th, and 12th, August 16th, August 17th, and 18th. I mean, August 22nd is even interesting, August 28th. And there's so many dates I could rattle off here. Please hit those like buttons on the way out, guys. I got 94 likes, 176 watching. If you guys found this information valuable or even entertaining at all or eye-opening, please hit that like button. That helps the algorithm. If you liked it, you don't have to hit it if you don't like it. But yeah, we had the Lionsgate stuff. I might make a video on the Lionsgate. But yeah, we covered Tisha B'Av. We covered the main event. We covered Triple H being at the White House. So we covered the money stuff. Yeah, guys, we're going to wrap it up then. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys want to support the channel, like I said, hitting the like button is the #1 way. Also, I have a Buy Me a Coffee link listed at the top of the chat if you guys are interested in helping the channel out. But I just want to thank you guys again for all of your amazing comments and all of all of you who show up here, all 180 of you. And we'll see what happens. Again, we're not making any exact predictions, but we'll see if anything goes down with the Federal Reserve over the next couple of weeks. And make sure you guys go out and check out all the other channels that are doing great work as well. All the channels I mentioned in this stream, Decoding Our Reality, Ball Don't Lie. I saw 7-1 was in the chat as well. Make sure you guys go check him out. Dr. Savage. If you guys go to my community post, I have a post in my community from a few days ago. You guys can go sub to all the channels. That'll make it easier for you guys. All right. But I'll see you guys, very soon with another decode. And hopefully this one was good enough for you guys. And I will catch you all very later. Thank you and God bless. Take care.